Hi, how you doing? I'm Jeremy. I'm a targeted individual here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And there's a rhetorical question that I hear a lot. It's actually not supposed to be rhetorical, but it is. And to answer it in my own way, I want to give a little scenario. I want to lay out a little scenario, and I apologize, but it's just the best way for me to answer this question. Imagine an apartment in a city somewhere, maybe in one of those brick buildings like you see all over a city like Bridgeport. The very first thing we see when the scenario starts is a lady screaming and yelling into her phone. The very next thing we see, an adult male in the next room, relaxing on the couch, doing something with his phone, probably texting. I guess that's the only thing you're doing when you're going like this. Who knows? Also in that next room is a young boy who's sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the TV. By the way, at this point, they don't seem to notice the lady screaming and yelling. Going back to the lady, we figure out after only a couple of seconds, based on what she's screaming into the phone, that the electric company overcharged her, and she wants to get the charges taken off the bill. She goes on ranting into the phone. Let's imagine at certain points throughout her colorful commentary to whoever's on the other end of the phone, we see the two guys in the other room, the adult male, at certain really spicy parts of the conversation that the lady's having. He kind of just grins to himself and keeps on texting or whatever he's doing. In other words, he seems to be amused by what she's saying. And our little boy in front of the TV doesn't notice it at all. He doesn't register what's going on. He's just sitting there in front of the TV like this. Well, back to the lady who's screaming into the phone. We're following her progress, and it seems to be that she's been transferred to somebody else, perhaps a manager, and that she successfully gets the charges taken off of her bill. Maybe they didn't receive her payment last month and now it's twice as much or something like that. The whole matter ends to her satisfaction, and she goes to the other room, sits down on the couch next to the adult male, and a few moments later we see that now both of them are texting on their phones. They haven't said a word to each other, and the little boy is still watching the TV like this. Now, that's our short little scenario to answer a rhetorical question. A question that doesn't know it's rhetorical. At this point, I want to ask some questions that may seem strange, but I'm trying to get at something here. Now, first of all, was what we just witnessed in this scenario, was it something that was really out of the ordinary? Have we never witnessed something like this ourselves? Have we never seen a friend, a family member, an acquaintance getting really upset when they get overcharged, say cable bill, phone bill, electric bill? Have we never seen anyone get really upset and get on the phone with the utility company and raise hell until those charges are taken off of their bill? I think most of us have seen a scene exactly like this. And would we say that the adult male who several times during this lady's rant kind of showed indications of being amused and not much more, would we say that his reaction is out of the ordinary? I don't think so. Many of us perhaps would have the same reaction if someone that's close to you is yelling and screaming at the cable company, or after all, it helps to save money. No one wants to pay a $200 electric bill. These are working people. And besides, the lady got in some really good comments in there, And looking at the little boy's reaction, who just sits there the whole time, doesn't even register what's happening. That's very understandable as well. We could say that it's a pretty normal reaction from both the adult male and the boy. Going further with this, could we imagine perhaps that 6 months down the road, just 6 months down the road after this incident we just witnessed, that what happened that day would be an issue in any way, shape, or form? Would we be hearing about this angry phone call the lady made 6 months down the road from her family or friends? Probably not. Would they even know or care that this conversation ever took place? Probably not. Is our adult male, who seems so amused by it, is he going to remember this 6 months down the road? Maybe, maybe not. And if so, it's probably not going to be an issue in the relationship. The lady herself, 6 months down the road, is she going to be thinking back to this incident? Will she even remember that it happened? I may be wrong here, but I think probably not. What about the unfortunate soul, the customer service rep or whoever it was that she was screaming at? Is he or she going to be remembering this 6 months down the road? Especially when such people deal with, angry customers 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. And knowing what customer service reps go through, this was a pretty tame incident in comparison to some of the more infamous ones. But I want to go back to the beginning of the scenario and tweak it a little bit. In fact, I'm going to just tweak one detail in the entire scenario, and you'll see how different it becomes. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's go back. We'll try this whole scenario again, but our lady in the scenario is now a targeted individual. She's a TI. She's a gang-stalking target. Everything goes exactly the same, let's say, for the sake of argument. She's really upset that the electric bill is so high, and she rants and raves until they wipe the charges off of her account. In the other room, you still have an adult male who seems to be amused by what the lady is saying. And in the other room, you still have the little boy sitting there like this in front of the TV. But apart from that, things are very, very different, because what Our Lady just did in this scenario is, by calling up the electric company and yelling them on the phone, what she just did is something that's going to be used against her every day for the rest of her life, because that phone call was being recorded. And it's going to be edited. It's going to be put online in an archive containing other bits and pieces of other phone calls, texts, emails, any kind of human interaction or conversation from work, from home, from on the street, from the doctor's office, from the grocery store. And it's going to be part of a massive archive of negative moments from this lady's life, which access to which will be given to everyone around her every day for the rest of her life, anywhere she goes in the world. And 6 months down the road, she will be hearing bits and pieces of this conversation repeated back to her by friends, family, and strangers alike, repeated back to her in the most accusatory tone, as if what she said that day on the phone to the electric company was the worst thing that anybody's ever said. Repeated back to her bits and pieces of this conversation as if she were so mean and miserable, unstable, crazy, dangerous. If we just tweak that one thing in the entire scenario and make her a targeted individual, we see that what she's just done is punishable almost as if it's a crime. And in fact, she's going to be punished more and for longer for saying what she said to the customer service rep at the electric company than a thief will be punished for stealing, because our thief is going to be charged, maybe serve a little bit of time, or do some kind of community service, whatever it is. He'll be on probation, and once he's done, apart from not being able to get certain types of jobs, he's not going to have the fact that he did whatever he did repeated back to him by everyone wherever he goes for the rest of his life. But Our Lady, that was angry because she got overcharged on her electric bill, is going to be hearing about it every day for the rest of her life. That's very remarkable, and I hope you agree. By the way, the rhetorical question I was trying to answer with this scenario is one that you hear a lot lately in the surveillance debate. And the question has a couple variations, but it goes something like this. What's the big deal about loss of privacy? If you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? What happens to the lady in this scenario, if she's a targeted individual, is one answer to that question.